Hey, welcome back to another edition here of Heavy Rotation, tribute to Cleveland metal and beyond, but most definitely, first and foremost, here to celebrate the diverse bands right here in our backyard. Tonight, joined by a man that, for most of y'all, needs no explanation, but of course, well worthy of one. We got Scott Bryant in the room.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm thankful that you're here, brother.
Yeah.
Scott is a guitarist, bassist, vocalist, producer, and probably some more stuff I don't even know about. But he has played in that I know of, and we'll go over all this in detail. Anything I might miss, but first, most are going to know from Odious Sanction, of course, along with Steve Shalati, who's gone on to do big things right now on tour with Immolation. STRESSLORD, Untoward, which also features Carolina Perez from Castrator. Mercury Lake, ZWR777. We'll delve into the origin of that name later. Gutted, Law of Destruction, and piggyback right off that. What was the start of all this, man? Like, was there like a what was the first band you were in, man?
Well, the story goes, I was going to Riverside High School, junior high, and that's where I met Steve Shalati, along with Justin Endries and Eric Ferbata. Eric Ferbata was a drummer of STRESSLORD. Justin was in STRESSLORD. Justin was also an Odious Sanction, Gutted back in those days. And so, like, we all kind of met, and we just had, like, the same musical taste. Like, we were just totally into heavy music. And, like, when we met Steve, interesting enough, like, he's, like, he was, like, more the thrash guy at that time. He liked, like, King Diamond and Anthrax, and I was, like, listening to Deicide and Suffocation. Justin come from, like, an Iron Maiden background, but he liked really heavy stuff, too, and Eric just loved heavy. Eric's just straight heavy, So we were all hanging out. And the way we got going was I had a band where I was playing bass, but I didn't know what I was doing. Because my brother got a guitar when we were kids, and I was just inspired by that, so that's what got me to start playing, period. So we started this band called Psycho Ward, and it was my friend John Poling and Brian Pomeroy, and I was playing bass, but I didn't know what I was doing. But it was cool, and, like, we were having a lot of fun. So I just kept playing and playing and playing. I eventually got, a lot better at playing bass and guitar. So Steve, fast forward into school, Steve found the ad in the Scene magazine, because back then there was no internet, there was no phones, you had to, like, hunt through the scene. And Steve was a marching band drummer, and he took jazz class at Riverside, and then, he liked metal, so, like, he was just totally awesome. He's been awesome all the way through. So we found the ad from Scott Hilberg. You guys might remember Somnus from back in the day. Scott Hilberg and his buddy Joe Mitchell had a tryout, so me and Steve went out to Old Brooklyn, I believe is where they lived. And we tried out. So we got going, threw down some bass, but they didn't have a singer, so I just started singing and playing bass, and then boom, that's pretty much how, like, Gutted was born. We were called a couple names. We started with Zymergy, and then we went to Gutted, and then eventually Gutted became Odious Sanction. Joe Mitchell, like, he's a cool dude. He didn't last very long, so that's when we asked our boy Justin Endries to step in. So for a long time it was me, Steve, Steve on drums, me playing bass and singing, and then Scott Hilberg and Justin Endries on dual guitar, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much how we got going. Also, on the side note with that, too, our friend Adam Gallagher, along with Eric Ferbata and Jason Ferbata, they had a really heavy band, Inhumation, and we go into the basement of Adam's dad's house, and they'd be down there, and they had, like, this total slam. It was like just slow mid-pace slam, total heavy Jun band. They're totally sick. So that also, as time went on, is kind of what spawned STRESSLORD, and, like, the slower side of the stuff I do versus, like, the faster stuff with Steve. But that's pretty much how it all got started.
Right on, my man. Hey, I definitely see your signal coming through, but I would say go ahead and this mic, yeah, just a bit more.
Sure.
Make sure we're getting the full volume here, man. We got a lot to talk about. Yeah, speaking of Gutted, when I put together this little promo, I kind of grabbed a lot of stuff from Paul. Is always a good resource.
Yeah, Paul. What's up, Paul?
Yeah. And but yeah, there's a flyer. There's a really cool flyer here with Gutted, Embalmer, Rotrevor, and Dark Century at Flashes. And I was thinking maybe you know, for those of us, you know, younger cats here, who didn't get to, like, how was the scene back then? You know, maybe talk about Flashes or any of the other spots that you used to play at.
And I mean, honestly, we were, for the Cleveland area, we were lucky that we were born at the time we were to experience what we experienced. Basically, like, Flashes for us was the catapult and the club that we met everybody, starting with Jim Kanye, and, you know, we met Chris Dora and Paul John. And, you know, there's just a bunch of the Clevelanders, you know, we were the Decrepit, we met all those guys, and the scene was like super hopping back then. I mean, there was just like a lot of death metal bands, you know, Blessed Sickness, Sacrifix, you know, Red Giant wasn't death metal, it was kind of a Jimmy LaMarca came from Chimera, and like there was just so many bands going on. But the way we got our foot in the door, and I miss Flashes, and I forever loved Gio in that club because that guy was smart and he helped us out so much. But every Tuesday they'd have musicians nights, you know, so they have a band host it, and then all the other bands would sign up and they'd have to play on the host band's equipment. But and you know, you'd wait in a line on Tuesday. So like out in the parking lot, Jim Kanye, that's where we met him. He's doing like comedy skits out there, and we're all talking metal, and he's making us laugh. And it was just such an awesome time, you know. So we just kept going. We just kept playing musicians nights through the winter, through the summer, and over. And then Gio liked us, and so he started giving us like, you know, like better gigs. You know, we got to open up for Cancer, we got to open up for Disincarnate, if I remember, and not to mention. Besides all the other bands were opening too for a lot of those national acts, you know, like Sodomize was there and all that. But you know, we saw like all the best bands at Flash. We, you know, saw Pantera there. We saw Morbid Angel, Dead Horse. I mean, I can go on and on with all the crazy death metal. We saw MOD. I mean, just a lot of cool stuff. So, and also besides Flash, the Agora Ballroom was another place. Lots of awesome shows. They always booked really good shows. And there's a couple other clubs. The Empire, I missed that place. I saw like who did I see? I saw Bolt Thrower there and Pestilence, and that was really cool. I think they tore that building down. That's long gone. But during that era, as we were building, and that was like Gutted transforming into Odious Sanction, but the Gutted days, it was just a really good scene. You know, like the Decrepit guys were super cool. Like everybody was just really cool. But we all had like a different style of music. You know, and we came like 25 minutes east of Painesville, so like we were just like, our style was just slightly different than the guys in downtown. But I also remember the one band that connected us all was Immolation. Like, we all loved Immolation. That was like the glue that we were like, yeah, you know, hell yeah. So yeah, the scene was great back then. I miss it tremendously. It was just great to be a part of it.
Hell yeah, man. I don't want to skip over anything, so in like your timeline, so
Sure.
Was noted to me, commented on the post by Steve Shalati, that you were also part of project called Law of Destruction.
Correct.
Was that like predating Gutted, or was that kind of?
No, that was way after. That was after Odious Sanction. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, so like Odious Sanction's timeline, we did the full length, and we split the studio. We did it at Modern Recording Studios, and I can't even remember the year, man. It was so long ago. But we split it with Eric Frabada's band Inhumation. So we did that, and then Odious did, and at that point, we lost Hilberg at some point. But Steve started playing drums for Dark Century, and this was during the Flashes days, and that's how we met Gene, because Gene was a guitar player for Dark Century. So then Gene slid into Odious Sanction, and so then we got that all together. So then with Gene, we did the Ignorant Waste demo, which we recorded in Steve's dad's basement. And thank you, Mr. Shalati, appreciate it. And then out in Vermilion, I forget the name of the studio, but then we recorded the Punishment of Life EP. And then we recorded at Modern Recording Studios with Chris Luke. We did Psychotically Enraged. At that point, Gene was moving pretty good with the Pit. He had the Pit Cleveland Club, and he was doing that. So Gene got busy with that, so me and Steve just kept going, doing our thing, and then we did No Motivation to Live. And then that right there, around 2003, is where Steve got the Immolation gig. I started STRESSLORD, and then I'm probably missing a step in there because we were playing with Missing Skin, me and Steve, but Missing Skin led to Law of Destruction, which was Dwayne and Brian Byer's band Missing Skin, and Dwayne was also in Law of Destruction. Awesome guys, super good guitar players too. So that's kind of like the timeline speedily. So Law of Destruction came after like Odious.
Okay. So I was kind of thinking about this, and like the style of Odious, you know, it's like, what do you think really influenced you? Because like the riffs is particularly like the album I'm most familiar with is Psychotically Enraged, and the riffing on there, it's like really intense riffing. Like what I was trying to think, you know, to myself, like, okay, what bands were around in this time? What would have, you know, what collectively would have, like, what made you want to write those like really like techie? It's almost like kind of like technical stuff. It is, right?
It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of riffs per song. That's our
For sure.
Yeah, so for us, especially another awesome thing of being that age is being there through like the heyday of death metal. You know, that's like DSI was coming up, Morbid Angel, Gorguts, so Suffocation, like so all those Immolation. So all those bands had pinnacle records for us that we held dear. You know, Malevolent Creations, Retribution was just like we just swore by. Gorguts, Erosion of Sanity, Suffocation's Effigy of the Forgotten, Obituaries, Cause of Death. So like a lot of that stuff, Death Human, like all that stuff had a lot. But we also really like thrash. We're big thrash heads too. We love Pantera, and you know we loved Exhorder, and we loved Sacred Reich and Overkill. Like we go see those guys. So like our whole thing with Odious was we loved the full brutality of death metal. But we also wanted to kind of bring that thrash, and then we liked like that Pantera smack groove, you know. So we wanted to our goal was like we always wanted the riffs to be heavy, but we also wanted to combine it in like a pot and just mix it up and just make it like of all the favorite things we like from all styles of metal and stuff. Just being like, I like death metal, and that's all I want to do is like I like all these bands. So how do we capture all that into these songs? So that's what we always aimed to do. So that's kind of where we got it from. Those pinnacle albums, especially Pantera, you know. I know not so much death metal, but what we loved about Pantera, and we kind of, is their stage presence, right? Like they just had shorts and, wife beater shirts, and like they just come up and throw down and just leave the stage, And I appreciate the theatrics and all that stuff, but for us back then, that was like we love just going. It's a 90-degree day, you're up there in shorts just jamming, and like I just love that free jam. So like we really love that about Pantera and just the riffs, being swinging and stuff. So. You can kind of hear in Psychotic. I mean, it's blazing fast, but there's like some Pantera in there. So we just kind of mixed all that stuff together. But we really love the Terrorizers World Downfall is another one. Deicide Legion. Sorry, I forgot that one. I wore those tapes. We'd be like taping the tape back together because it'd keep breaking because we just play it over and over and over. But we didn't have a lot of money, so I'm like, let me fix it, So we just thought we studied the hell out of all those albums, and that's basically pretty much how we got going with writing that stuff, and that's what led to Psychotic, especially with Gene. Gene came from a bluegrass background, and he's just a phenomenal player. And he just refused anything but excellence. Like that dude would just sit there and just play and play and play till he hit it, So all that together, that's pretty much how we got to Psychotic. And of course, Steve's amazing drumming over it on top of it, and Kevin Farley on bass.
Yeah, man. Shout out Kevin Farley. I know Kevin. We're not like best buddies or nothing, but I definitely have talked with him before. And when in the heyday of like Peabody's, like the band that he was doing, A Few Askew, with Tony, I know Tony Bellante, right?
Yep.
Man, I was always like so impressed by that band, man. Like that was some
super good musicians,
some cool shit, man.
Yeah.
How was it working with Kevin, man?
Awesome.
He's an amazing bassist.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. He stepped in and he just hammered it out, man. Kevin was always cool. Like we go do the shows, we got along fine. Phenomenal musician. Dude can play piano. He's got the gift for sure. Smart guy. But yeah, Kevin was always cool, man. Fortunately, Odious, it hit his thing like bands do, where it's time to break up for whatever. But I mean, the whole run with him was great, man. Phenomenal bass player for sure. I think he's playing in Falling now, if I'm not mistaken, with Tony Bellante, Eric Forbada, and Justin Endries. I think they got a track out they released. It's on Bandcamp if you guys are interested in checking it out. Good band. Falling is a super good band.
Total support for anything Tony B is doing, and Kevin, of course. Yeah. they were Kevin and Joe Petrich were doing that acid bath tribute,
Yes.
and then they had In Falling on the same
Yes.
bill, and is that Eric Verbata on drums? Or?
Correct.
Yeah, right. So
Eric's killed
man,
drummer,
all in the
man.
family, man. I was meaning to ask you too, man. Like, how'd you kind of get into singing, man? Were you just yelling along, and you're like, oh, that sounds pretty good, or what, how did that happen?
So, like, going back to that beginning story where we answered the ad for Scott Hilberg, the beginning of the Odious, way back in the day, they just didn't have a singer, so I just went for it. And then basically I just got like, cool, you're going to sing for the band. And so back then, too, once I figured it out and started, getting good playing bass and singing, I was a low singer. Our good buddy who passed away, unfortunately, L.A. Styles, missed that guy. He called me Growler. So, like, the first few demos of Odious Sanction, I love, like, Chris Barnes and Frank Mullen. I just love that deep guttural. So, it was more like we just need a singer. So then I started singing, and everyone liked me singing. So then I just kept singing. And then Gene got in the band, and then, like, once they got a guitar off me, and then I just got the front man, then they're like, cool, we like you being the front man. So then that's basically how I just, I started screaming because I love John Tari, and my biggest influence is Brett Hoffman from Malevolent Creation, and I love Gorguts, Luke LeMay, just a master, just, really inspired by that stuff. I love the high scream. I mean, I love the death metal, the growls too, but I really love the screaming, And as I grew into that, especially with Odious, I mean, Odious Sanction is like kind of like a rage. We're all Taurus, and we're all just angry kids. I mean, we're just super mad, all of us, So like we're screaming, the whole thing's just pissed, and so that that's how I got into singing, and then everybody just seemed to like it, so we just stuck with it, and here I am.
So with that, was it challenging for you at first to be, playing the type of riffs you play, as a guitarist myself, it's challenging, I mean, the stuff that you're playing, this is not to be condescending in any way, but it's not like an obituary riff. It's not like a doomy type thing. Like you're pretty like notey with what you're playing.
Just moving around.
Did that, was that something you had to work a lot at?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Especially in the beginning playing bass. And then another pinnacle moment is like when kind of Odious fell apart, and we got back together with a three-piece with Adam Schwan, who played bass on No Motivation to Live, which was the last Odious Sanction full-length we'd done. And he passed away in 2, unfortunately. We miss him dearly. I had to, like, the way I did it, and Eric Verbata, if you're listening, you can attest to this story, because Eric would come to every practice, but Steve had this house out in Chardon, and I wrote all the lyrics, and I just taped them up on the wall, and we were like, go. And so we'd run the set 3 times a night, 5 days a week, and I just keep going until I got it. Yeah, we played a lot, man, but that's how I got it. It was hard, too, like, No Motivation's got a lot of riffs, so, but the only way for me to get it is just to physically just hammer myself through it till I get it down, So, but yeah, anyone that plays guitar and sings fluently, man, bless you, good for you, because it is definitely a hard skill, in my opinion.
100%, man. I mean, I think like when I think of like the legendary people, like Chuck Schuldiner and
Chuck's awesome.
Many more, of course, but yeah, that's no easy feat, especially when you're playing on the more technical side. So yeah, tell us about Painesville, man. I know you guys, you and Steve got a lot of pride in, where you came from, and you still live in Painesville now, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about
we all do.
just growing up in Painesville and how, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Basically, like I said, once we got to school, and me and Eric Verbata, Justin Andrews, Steve, myself, and some others too, we really connected with death metal, and like Eric would always Eric somehow would get like a new record, and Eric loved Pestilence, but he, I remember one time, we were kids and the phone rings, and my mom's like, Scott, it's Eric, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, dude, and it was probably like about a half an hour walk to his house from my mom's house, and he's like, you gotta come over here, I got the new Suffocation, and he got Effigy to Forgotten, so I'd walk all the way over there, and we're down in the basement just jamming, and his parents are cool, and we're down there just crushing it. So like as we grew older, my parents, especially when we were in school, they like to, they'd leave on the weekends So we throw like these mosh parties at my house, and like all the local people, you know, that whole crew, along with John Pulling and others. So we'd be like every weekend. My dad had this really awesome stereo, and we'd be cranking like, you know, Godflesh and Pestilence and Sepultura's Arise, and we'd just be pitting in the living room, like just full blown pits, like all weekend, you know. And these guys probably laughing because they were all there for it. And my mom always had this table, and I'm like, don't break the table. Like 5 minutes in, like someone would hit it, the table would go flying. So then like Sunday morning, we're trying to put everything back together. My mom would catch it every time. So that was cool, and that's kind of how we started bonding together. And then, you know, we had a shoddy drum set in my basement, and Eric had his Rogers kit at his house, and we're all starting to play, and like everyone just started to play together. And then as school went on, you know, then like those guys formed Inhumation, we got Gutted going, and we were kind of all still just jamming with each other, just having fun and playing around. And so basically, like, the cool thing with Painesville, like, for me, man, I mean, I couldn't be luckier. Like, I got, you know, right now, like, Steve Shalati, I got Carlina Perez, and I got Eric Frabata. Like, those are 3 awesome drummers, like, right in the Painesville pocket, you know. Carlina obviously moved here from New York, but it's just crazy. And then, like, the other thing with Painesville, too, is, you know, many people probably don't know this, but, you know, Steve's got this practice. My fiance, Stephanie, who's awesome and loves metal, and she's fantastic, she found this practice spot in downtown Painesville, and we've had it for over 10 years, you know, and Steve took it over. I left for a while, and he took it over. But even in that building alone, like, we did a bunch of STRESSLORD. Steve's, like, they've shot immolation videos in there. Castrator did a video in there. Like, it's just like this hub, like this mecca hub, like, of even, like, the, you know, the famous artists coming out and, like, doing stuff there. And so we just have a lot of bands that came from here, and we're all still playing, like all of us. You know, it's funny, you know, Tony and Kevin are from Willoughby area, but everyone that we know is, like, still actively playing, and we still love metal. So just a lot of cool stuff has been done from Painesville. So, like, with Odious Sanction, I mean, of course, we recognize with Cleveland, and we love Cleveland, but, you know, we always pin ourselves to Painesville, and we love the name, too, Painesville. It's fantastic.
Bringing the pain.
Pain.
No, I can vibe with that, man. I mean, I'm most of my life I lived in Lake County. Like I lived in California for a decade, but then when I came back home, now I'm back in Willowick, and you know, so Cleveland is the big picture, of course. Yes. But yeah, we take pride in Lake County, of course. We're here in Lake County right now. We're at Lakeland, Kirtland, Mentor, I don't know. It's like right at the border.
It's kind of like on the border of all that. It's a weird spot where it's at.
Speaking of, we're in a college, man. Like, what was your, you know, have you mostly been self-taught, or did you study in any capacity, or?
Sure. So in junior high, like, the only thing I have as far as learning would be, like, I played trumpet, tuba, and baritone in band. That's kind of how I met Steve. So I learned how to read music through that. But when it came to playing guitar, like, the true testament to me figuring out how to tune a guitar and start learning riffs, I used South to Heaven, Slayer's South to Heaven, you know, because they hold out the brrrr, and I didn't know how to tune a guitar. So I'm like, I think this string's going to go, and I'm trying to get it to match. And then I'm like, okay. And then my brother's like, here's how you tune it from there. So then I tuned it. So then literally I just took that album. I just went riff by riff until I learned the whole album. And then I just would practice it over and over and over. And even before I got to that, too, with playing, like, you know, Metallica was just obviously a huge influence as I was growing up. Love the first 4. I mean, we don't need to talk about the rest. And I don't, you know, wherever everyone's at with that, that's fine. And I'm so happy those guys are still going. First 4 for me, especially Master of Puppets, probably my favorite. So that was really tweaking me, too. And the funny thing with Metallica going into Slayer, like, Metallica, you know, I was just all Metallica. And then I heard Slayer, and it, like, almost scared me. It was just so evil. Like, when I heard it, I was like, wow. And I heard Rain of Blood, and I was like, it was, like, just freaking me out, you know. So basically with guitar, that's pretty much how I got my start, and then I was just hooked from there, you know. But I also love playing bass, too. And then I played drums as well, which in Mercury Lake, I did a live drumming stint with that for a little bit, too. But I play drums a lot, too. I got a drum set in the basement I'm always playing. I program drums, too.
Excellent, man. I knew there was something I would miss, but, I mean, we've got time, you know. So, yeah, nice segue into that. So, like, how long have you been playing drums then? And then did you kind of, is Mercury Lake, is that like a solo project? Or?
It is.
Oh, okay.
There's been many people in it. So Mercury Lake, I was living in North Willoughby at the time, and That was when Steve and so John Capri. I was kind of doing law, and I was, I'm still hanging out with Steve, but those guys were really busy because John Capri, and I hope John's listening, miss him too, man, great friend. John Capri was playing with Tim Ripper Owens in a band called Beyond Fear, so he was touring a lot, and Steve was touring a lot with Immolation, so I'd have a lot of downtime. But I started getting into program drums, so I started on the Ableton learning, and I did a really fast death metal thing. But I didn't know how to do the cymbals and the toms and all that. Yeah, it was just all blast beats, and it was called Life Crusher. And so, unfortunately, there's another band called Life Crusher, but they're good. They're good kids, and that band's actually good. But it taught me how to program. So then, I started getting into Jun bands, and especially when I heard volumes, and I can go on a whole different category. I'm into a lot of stuff, not just straight death metal. But it taught me I wanted to write something super heavy and Johnny, especially because, me and Eric did STRESSLORD for so long. But I wanted to do something by myself, and I kind of wasn't in a good spot in life when I did it, so it was really cool to kind of inspire me just to, it was just kind of like this sorrow, heaviness band, So I programmed it, and it was really cool. So then I got my brother played bass. Yeah, my brother's another one. Sorry, Richie, my brother Richie B, man, he's been playing bass in and out with us. My brother's an awesome musician, too. He's more into electronic and trance and alternative kind of music, but the dude can throw on metal. He's played in STRESSLORD in and out a few times. So I got him in the band, and my friend Z, and at the time his girlfriend Shell, she was singing, Z was playing guitar, and me and my brother, and then we started gigging around. I was playing drums. And one of my favorite moments with Mercury Lake is that we got to play we got to open for Gorguts, and Luke LeMay watched us play, and then he came up and said good set, and that was a pretty huge deal for me.
Yes.
So, my short drumming career, way back in the day, and this is way back when Gene was throwing the Summerfest, for all you guys that remember that, we had a band called Minion, and my buddy Mike Miller was on guitar, Don Holbrook was on bass, I was playing drums, and then Steve Shalati and Gene Burnworth were singing, and we played a couple fests with that, and that was a really cool band too. So kind of had the Cannibal Corpse double bass blast going and stuff like that. So that's where I played drums. With Mercury, then the members kind of fell off, so now I have it pretty much programmed again. And at some point this year, once I get done with the Odious, and we're looking to do the Untoward this year too, I'm gonna get back to wrapping that up along with ZWR.
And the ZWR 777. How did you pick that name? And then maybe just tell us a little bit about that project.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the name itself, for all you guys that are trying to figure out a name for your band these days, every single name is taken. People are diving through medical dictionaries trying to find something that nobody's taken yet. So, I am an avid gamer. I have been my whole life, and my gaming tag was ZWR777. And I was like, well, nobody's going to have that. So I grabbed that and went with it. And the cool thing with that is before me and Steve got back together, we were talking about it, but I kind of wrote an Odious tune. It's like a minute 20. It's super fast. And when I release the album, you guys will see it'll be the first one on the album. Because I have all the music written. I actually have everything played and sang. I'm just trying to get my mixing skills a little better before I release it. But I wrote an Odious style tune. But the difference between Z-Dub and Odious, besides it being programmed drums, is that Odious, we like to move tempo around and kind of weave in and out of tempo, where Z-Dub's more like a Morbid Angels, just straightforward, same tempo the whole way, just like a driving, because I like death metal like that too, that drives. So with Z-Dub, I wrote 5 new full-blown death metal tunes, but then I also took the good ones from my Life Crusher band, since the other band came with Life Crusher, and I incorporated those into the album. So I got 8 tracks for that, for the full length, and yeah, it was just a really cool thing. I was kind of jonesing when Steve was, Steve be busy touring, so it was just something with fast double bass, and I got to sit there and just, it pushes, it's super hard to play, it's painful, it's the way we like it, I guess. So it was just a really cool, full-blown, death metal project I'm just doing by myself, and I sing, play bass, play guitar, and then program the drums for it. So it's just something fun to do on the side.
Yeah, man, I think when you're a creative person, it's always the best case scenario that you got. Sorry about that. That you have actual humans in the room with you, and everyone's vibing, and but you know, we're getting older, we have responsibilities, and like if there's a month that goes by where everyone's too busy and you can put out something and program everything, play everything, I mean, why not, Yeah.
The other thing, too, with me with the program drums, and of course, I love all my drummer friends, and you guys are all awesome, and you're very skilled, because we've gone back and forth about program drums versus real drums. But for me, like, I love them both, Like, there's a few albums I came across back in, like, 2009, 10, 11 area where the drums were programmed, and I just loved it. I loved the sound of it. And I also love the sound of a real drummer. Like, my dream was, like, do an album where it's, like, some of it's programmed and someone's, like, a real drummer and just, like, mix the two. Because for me, it's, like, it doesn't matter how it's done. If it's heavy, I'm in, If it sounds good, it doesn't matter how you accomplish it. And I was thinking, like, like kids that want to play and stuff, and, maybe they're, like, way off in Wichita, Kansas, and there's no one around, but they want to jam. So, like, this is their way to do it, you know what I mean? So... like the band Orbital Gate, she like crafted that whole thing herself, and then it did good, and then she hired people to do it. So like that's just to me inspiring. That's not programmed though; she's playing all the instruments. But I just think with me, what got me into programming, besides the fact that people weren't there, is just that I like the sound of both of them. I kind of like just like when you got the double bass blast going at Mach 10, it's just like, and like the funny thing about Z-Dub is like I'm the bad player in that band. It's definitely not. It's not my programmed drums. They're just like humming, but it also is unrealistic, But there's just elements of the unrealistic I like, and then of course I just love real drumming too because it's just such an art form. So whatever it takes to achieve the heavy riff, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, understood, man. I think the problem some people have is behind is like the fakery,
Sure.
But if you're up front and it's someone, hey, are those drums? Yeah, they're programmed. I mean, do you enjoy listening to it or not? I mean, you don't have to. It's like
an inspiring guy for me is the Putrid Pile. Like that guy's like a band, man. It's amazing. Like he just shows up and rolls. It's impressive. He's got some good riffs too, man. It's pretty sick.
He's upfront about it, man. Like there's no secret behind that. Yeah. Nah, that's some cool stuff, man. I'm sure when he was first starting doing that, I would imagine, that a lot of people were like, dude, no. Like,
I'm sure
like you need a band or like you didn't, but I mean, that's, I don't know how, I'm not super familiar with that. I know that band has been around for many years.
Yeah.
So he's, and still is able to like book gigs and go out on tour. So good on him, man.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so, dude, I just interviewed Dakota Rivera,
good dude,
vocalist, who, like you, has really, like, a big catalog of music, and he was really excited about, I don't even know if I had talked to you about doing this interview yet, but he was, like, noticing that you and Scott were posting stuff, and I think a lot of people are really pumped on it. I mean, I am for one,
Thank you.
So yeah, what can we expect from Odious, man? Like, you guys, I know music is being recorded or has been recorded.
It's been written. We've done a rough. We got like a whole rough of it as we're preparing to record with Noah. We'll start at the beginning with that. So, like 3 years ago, me and Steve started talking about it, because he misses it, and he loves emulation. And by the way, the emulation guys is some of the nicest guys you could ever meet. I'm so happy he got that gig, and I'm so proud of him. And I'm glad out of the Painesville circuit, like he got out there and got going, along with all of our other friends that have done successful things. And it was just it's just such an honor to have like emulation as our friends. I mean, they come over our house and we go to the practice spot, and they know my fiance Steph, and they're just like the friendliest guys. So for that, we couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be happier for Steve, and I think it's great. But he was just, we've always been itching with Odious. Odious it's a tough band. It's one of those bands where like you got to practice all the time with it, or you'll lose it. because there's just a lot of down picking, and it's real fast and furious. And we average anywhere from 7 to 15 riffs a song. You know, it isn't like A, B, A, B, C, maybe a D. We're just banking. But, you know, we wanted to do it, and we wanted to give it our best shot. And we still have that passion. We still have that anger. And, like, I'm super proud of this record. Like, we put a lot of work in. It took us 3 years to get to this point, honestly. Then Steve started throwing down some recordings, and I started playing over it. And then we just started, like we always do, just started hitting the practice spot nonstop. And then we started dialing it in, and I'm halfway through the lyrics, and, you know, the lyrics are really good, too. So I think, you know, I know that Psychotically Enraged for the Odious fans is always going to be the highlight, and we miss Gene. Gene was an awesome part of that band. Christy Jenkins as well. Thank you for everything you've done for us and all your support. But I think that we're going to give the fans a solid, just pissed off, straight up Odious Sanction record, you know. Just do what we do best. We're just pissed about a lot of stuff. And, you know, we're not going to get political or anything like that, but, like, just where the world's at, there's plenty of fuel for the fire to just be angry and play some heavy music. And just, I feel like with everything that's going on, at least when I step in that room with Steve, we get the chance to just cut our brains off, and, you know, we just get to shut off and just jam. And we're focused on, we're doing inner art and creating something, which is kind of helping us break from everything that's going on. So we hope everyone likes it. Some differences are I'm doing it with a 7-string, not a 6. I think Gene was tuned to like D flat or something like that, D sharp. I'm just tuned to straight B, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be playing guitar, bass, and doing the vocals on it. We've been getting asked a lot about shows and stuff like that, but I think right now what's important for us is just to get this album done and get it done proper. We want to make sure it sounds good. That's why we're going to go to Noah. We know he'll do a fantastic job with us. And we just want to give the most quality possible product in our 50s that we could possibly give with Odious Sanction.
I wanted to ask you about that, man, because I know you got producing and mixing chops. You know, obviously Noah Calder at Mercenary. You know, his resume is quite extensive. You know,
yes.
So 110%, man. Like, he's the dude, right? But, like, how can I say? I guess if not for Noah, is there anyone else that you would have went to? Like, I mean, like, were you originally kind of thinking you would, you know, track and mix everything yourself with
it did start
with
with
Odious?
that.
Yeah,
it did. But it's not that I don't feel I can do it, but again, after 25 years, we just want to make sure it's right. I mean, there's some other guys. You know, we were talking to Christy Jenkins, and thank you for coming to see us with Untoward. It's always good to see her. And she's still in touch with Chris Luke, the original guy that did Psychotic with, I forget the name of that studio, and my apologies on that. But, you know, he was available. And STRESSLORD recently played with Crypt Kicker last year, and those guys went to a studio. So there was some options. But, like, also, like I think you nailed it with Noah's resume. Plus, he's done some work. I think he tracked Carlina's drums, tracked Steve's drums. I think he worked with Mutual Hostility, which is another one of Eric Forbada and Dan Gates' band. So, like, he's done a lot of stuff close to the inner circle, too, and it all sounds good. I like what he did with the Ringworm. The latest Ringworm's good. So, I just think he'll be the guy. And he's Cleveland, you know. Like, I just think he'll be the guy to do it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he mixed a couple songs for stuff I've been a part of, and nothing but good things to say. You know, very professional.
Yes.
And you know, when you talk to him, he's like, I wouldn't say it's not that he's short with you, but like you can tell he's you know, this is a productive conversation, not like yeah, some people you can tell they're kind of getting off topic. You know, I mean, he's very like, you know, he's
doing the business. He's keeping you on track. And
exactly,
focused, which is great.
And
that's
good,
what it needs to be.
And good, like you know, not to the point where it feels like excessive, but like good. I feel like he beyond the engineer, he can kind of be like a producer if that's what you're wanting, you know.
Yeah, Sure. Yeah, Steve just worked with him not too long ago, and everyone. I unfortunately, I feel bad too. I haven't had a chance to work with him yet, but I'm very excited to work with him. But like I said, like Carly and Steve and Eric Fabia, like all had great experiences with him, and they had nothing but good to say. And everything I listen to that he does just sounds phenomenal. So
I feel bad that I butchered her name at the beginning.
that's okay.
I mean, that's just like how when I see it on paper, it reads that way. So you're working with Carolina? Is that how she would pronounce it? In Untoward. So yeah, we
Sure.
that's an interesting project.
It is.
You know, it's definitely not like easy listening, but it's not maybe what people would expect from you guys. From either all three of you, Steve, Carolina, or you guys are castrator, immolation, you know, like a lot of heavy stuff. Yeah,
straight brutal bands. No, I think so. What happened with that? And Carolina is a very talented musician. I mean, she can play guitar. She's playing piano. She's obviously drummer. She runs castrator. Like I got nothing but good to say about Carolina. And she's pro. She's totally knows what we're doing. She's eager to work and all that. Her and Steve, you know, and I feel bad speaking of this portion because it's like their band. I just got to jump in. But they want to just do something a little bit different with like some off timing and, you know, have it like, you know, a little, you know, metal but some punk in there and just, you know, kind of just, you know, the lyrics are like very much against the system and people are struggling. But the main thing with Untoward is they wanted to do like a lot of off time, weird timing stuff, which was cool. And they were playing. I mean, they were doing it for like 2 years, probably even more. And they were looking. They started looking for a bass player. They started wanting to, you know, take it serious. And I think they were thinking about asking Aaron Dallison at one point. But, you know, they're always, those guys come over almost every weekend, hang out down in the basement, you know. And they came down the one time and they're like, you know, we're going to play. And, you know, we were having some beers, of course, fun time. But I was like, you know, hey, you mind if I play bass? And they're like, nah, go ahead. So, you know, I was jumping around just trying to follow. And they liked it. So, you know, they let me in the band. I really appreciate it because it's been a really good positive experience. Getting back on bass, too, because I didn't realize how much I missed playing bass guitar. And what was cool about those two is when they're talking about it, they're like, we don't want you to, like, follow. Carlene's like, don't follow what I do, like, dance around it with the bass, you know, and then we hit the heavy parts, then follow it. So they kind of, like, let me write my own bass, you know, writing over top of it, and it was really cool. And then, you know, we had a pretty good year last year. You know, we went and did a couple shows, and we got that EP done. And it's just been a really good, positive experience. It kind of took me out of we got to write heavy all the time, you know, because I had so much fun playing it. Like when we play live, it's just so fun, and we practice. We just have a good time with it. You know, it's a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to, you know, once the dust settles. I know Carlene's getting ready to go on tour. I think Castrator's got a tour come up in March with Obituary. And then obviously Steve's overseas. And Steve comes back for a month, and he's going on a 6-week tour, American tour with Immolation. So once the dust settles and then we get the Odious done, I do believe that we're going to take all the songs that we have and then we're going to go back in the studio and do a full length with it, is the game plan. Great band, though.
Excellent, man. We got time, man. We got 15 minutes here. What's been your experience throughout all this? Like, you know, you guys are definitely well known. You know, when you say Odious Sanction, people are like, oh yeah, man, you know, like legendary Cleveland band, you know, like, you know, Steve has gone on to do like Immolation, and you know, like I'm trying to think the best way to say this. What's sort of been your experience, you know, as far as like the music industry and like, you know, like throughout all your time with this, like have there been like things that have been offered to you, or I don't really want it to be like a negative, like, oh, this person did something you didn't like, but just like, what's your overall, I mean, it's changed a lot too, you know, right now, because now it's like, you're just you're streaming music, and
yeah, it's fast paced.
You're not gonna you could sell a CD before, like, I guess yeah, that's a very broad question, but like in your time doing this, like what's what have you observed and like taken away from all that?
Sure. So, like, the main thing was communication, like, of how you went about doing the business, you know. So back in, like, the Gutted days, Misanthropy we were called for a minute, and Gutted going into Odious, you had to do it by mail, you know. You would go to the shows, you'd leave a clipboard there, you know, put your mailing address, we'll send you stuff, and we can send back and forth. And then Gene started the Odious Bros Stoner newsletter, and that was a big hit, you know, and people loved that. and I mean, that was what it was. You know, people come to the show and they'd sign their name, and then, you know, Gene and Hilberg especially was really good at it too. They would just start mailing back and forth and get a fan base going that way. Bob and Ross has talked about that a little bit too, how they'd be like trading tapes with people overseas and stuff. You know, and then as we got into the digital age with, you know, technology, yeah, things just move a lot faster now. You know, like you said, you can almost like do everything yourself. But I see also with labels, you know, it's good to have a label because they got a lot of connections and they can get your stuff where it needs to go. For us, back in Odious Sanction with Psychotically Raging, especially, Unique Leader Records reached out to us and they gave us a contract, which we signed with them, and they were cool. Deeds of Flesh rules. And they were really, really super cool to us. So as far as like the business aspect for that, that's kind of what I see. One thing about me where I kind of feel bad, I should have pushed myself a little further, was understanding the business a little better. But we just love playing so much. Like, that's all we cared about was playing. But, yeah, just the way you, like, get shows. Like, it's just, like, flyering now is just, like, it's all on with your phone. Like, you just make a flyer. Where before, like, me and Steve, be like, or Eric and all them guys, you know, we'd be driving around, like, stapling flyers with telephone poles or hitting other shows and putting them under, you know, windshield wipers and stuff like that, you know, and some clubs would be cool and let you promote for other clubs, and so we'd take advantage of that because we're always at all the shows. And now it's just like, you know, take a picture or draw a flyer, load it in, send it as many where you possibly can. So as far as the business goes, that's kind of like what I see. But also I've been away from it for so long, you know, like 10 years it's just been me in my house just doing my own thing and not really trying to push outwards. So it's good to also know Carlina, she's very good with the business as well. Eric Fabaz is really good with the business as well. And of course, Steve's good with the business, so it's just cool being around them because they all, you know, have a better understanding where it is today.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I think it's just a double-edged sword because, you know, there's this sort of illusion, and it is possible, you know, of just like having this big reach, you know, or you can post it and someone across the world will see what you're. But then it's people's attention span is very short,
Yes.
and it's like just a abyss of like information and yeah.
It's like
you gotta like
it's
wage
like
your way.
instant gratification, you know.
Yeah,
Like Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath, when they're coming around, it was like an epic event because you couldn't just like sit in your basement and turn on YouTube and watch whatever live show you wanted to watch. Like, you had to literally go to the show to see it, you know. And then with digital technology, it's just at your fingertips. And like you said too, there's a lot of bands, you know. There's just a lot of stuff, which is a lot of good bands, you know. And it's cool, like it's great, man. I mean, you can literally just get swamped with all kinds of new music, and it's fantastic. But yeah, like I said, the doom scroll, you know, you got about 3 seconds to capture someone's attention, or they're on their way.
right.
It's kind of cool thing with Odious Sanction, you know, with the following we have around here, you know, coming back from that day, it's kind of cool that it's still hung on. It's also like I talked to Steve today, and it's just inspiring. He keeps telling me like every show people keep asking about Odious over in Europe and stuff, so it's just cool that people know it's still over there, and they've all been watching like the clips we've been putting up. I like that part of the new age, you know. It's kind of cool how you can like film yourself playing and then throw it up there, and just, you know, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you were talking about Unique Leader Records, so like with this new release from Odious, are you guys planning on releasing that independently, or would you be working with them, or is that sort of where you at with that?
We haven't really talked about. I mean, of course, that would be the goal. But that, yeah, I mean, of course, that's what we would like. But, you know, we want to see how the response is going to be when it's done. You know, I mean, a friend of ours was like, you should shop it around now, and maybe a label will pick it up and pay for it. But like, I kind of want to just do it and just make sure it's good, and then go from there. Like I said, with me and Steve right now, our main thing is just me and him getting in that studio and just knocking the sucker out. And then when it's done, then we'll start filling in the steps from there. It's given us a lot of hope that everywhere Steve goes, people are asking about it, and the feedback we've gotten online since we've been posting videos of us playing and stuff and working on the new material. But yeah, I mean, the end game would be to get 2 guys to join the band, me going back to being the front man, and tour would be nice, and merch and all that stuff. And if a label wants it, of course, that'd be a great goal for us. Absolutely.
I think that could happen, man. There's a lot of excitement around it, and then having the, that's got to feel great, man. To be like, well, people across the pond, as they say, are like knowing about this band. I mean, growing up in Cleveland, and then you're like, oh yeah, Odious Sanction and Ringworm and whatever bands that you've seen from here succeed. Mm-hmm. It's like you're aware that like the reach is further, but you kind of never quite know, I guess, if that makes sense.
It does.
You're just like, well, I don't know, but yeah, man. I mean, like, one thing I wanted to make sure I touch on, and this would just, for some people, this might be the most boring part of the interview, but like, gear wise, man, like, so are you kind of like, are you like you prefer to use, like, does it change with each project? Like you say you're using a 7-string for Odious stuff now. When I listen to like STRESSLORD, which I guess we didn't talk about STRESSLORD a lot, but that definitely has like a strong like Meshuggah influence, Like, are you like, well, this project should have a solid state amp, and this should have a tube amp, or do you kind of have like your go-to stuff that you would use?
No. So the funny thing is my fiance Stephanie Gentry is probably laughing right now because she watches me go down a terrible quest for tone hole with the Kemper and the Valetone GP5s, the new one, a pedal that's like this big that does what the Kemper does. And you can grab all your favorite amps, and then I got the 6505 Plus amp, and then I got a Randall Diavolo, and then I'm going back and forth between those. Then I'm using the VSTs on my computer, and like I'm like, it's just, I don't know if it's me. It's like I'm never satisfied, or I can never find it. I bought a new round of Eminence Swamp Thing speakers and put them in my Randall half cab. I actually like those. Those are pretty cool. I know everyone likes the vintage V30s. Those are the go-tos. So for Odious, I'm trying to decide what it is. I think what I'm going to do is use the Randall, and I'm going to use the 6505 Plus with the Tube Screamer, and I'm going to bring my one cab that has the Celestion G12K85s, and I'm going to bring the other cab with the Swamp Things for this particular project. It just depends on the project. With STRESSLORD, we normally play with the 7-string, but this was my push. I wanted to do it with an 8. I just really, because STRESSLORD's like a big, slow, heavy band, so I really wanted to get that chunk. And I think for that last EP, it definitely grabbed it. I think if we were to do another STRESSLORD, I'd pop back up to a 7, but it was just cool to do a 5-songer. It just kind of depends on what we're doing. I don't play 6s anymore. I haven't in a long time. Like, once I hit the 7, I couldn't go back. So that's just like a demon seed for me, I guess. I can't. The 6s are just too light for me. I can't do it. But yeah, I'm always on an ever quest for tone, man. Just,
Yeah, that's can be a very satisfying thing and also frustrating, but just nature of the beast, I guess. And then as far as like tracking, like you said with Odious, you guys are, it seemed the way you said it, like intentionally having a bit of freedom with, as you move between sections that it's you're not just going to set it at 200 BPM and straight through. So when you go in the studio, how does that play out for you? Like, what's your process?
We already got the clicks laid out.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
Me and Steve are going to play the clicks. It took a long time to map those out, too. It's a lot of transitions, yeah. But me and Steven, basically, we got the clicks finalized before we left, and we got to run it a couple times, which was cool. And Steve's been playing to the clicks, so basically he's going to go in first, play to the clicks, and then when I do the guitar, bass, and sing, I'm just going to do it to the clicks.
And y'all are dialed in. I love it, dude.
Yeah.
So he's just going to knock out his drums, just the drums.
And then he's going to go back on tour, and then when he's on tour, I'm going to be working with Noah, trying to hammer my stuff out.
I'm jealous, man. I mean, but obviously you guys have known each other like most of your lives, and you have that chemistry and respect between each other to not waste each other's time. But not many drummers can do that. Like, they're in my experience, and that's not to put anyone down.
Sure.
But you know, like we're very in this style of music. I think we're very used to like, even if we are gonna record to a click, like we're used to like hearing something else.
Yeah.
You know, not just like, oh well, but like to have a drummer that just like knows their part the way that like, you know, a guitarist would know their part note for, like, that's very impressive.
Well, that's Steve, man. He writes his stuff out. I mean, fun fact too, this will be the first Odious to a click. So we did all the rest of them off feel. So Steve and Gene be like battling each other and flying on the fast riffs and stuff. You know, this way we're just
you can hear
in.
that on psychotically, but you can also tell that you guys are like very well rehearsed.
Yeah.
So it's like it's cool. Like, it just sounds raw to me. Like, it doesn't, but not in a bad way one bit. But it's just as you hear some of the riffs change, you're like, oh, they got it. You know, like it's just like
it's like a slight push where you can feel the battle, and then it locks right back in. And they just And Steve and Gene had a lot of respect for each other. You know, they both were pushing where they could, and then one guy would have, like, Gene would have a chunk riff where he could fly, and he's pushing Steve, and then Gene would have a fast one, and Steve's pushing him with the blast. But they always kept it right. It was just like friendly competition, just to push. And back then, all the death metal bands were trying to go as fast as humanly possible. You know, so we were no different with ourselves. You know, he had like Origin back then on Deeds and all that. Everyone's just hauling on the blast beat. So. But yeah, there's mutual respect between those two. It's pretty interesting to watch.
How was that received back then? I mean, I know, you know, there was Suffocation was out and like Internal Bleeding, but you know, you guys definitely, like you were saying, you were trying to, you know, have some groove, and like there's, you know, this is like years before anybody would ever use the term like deathcore or you know, which has a bad, maybe deservedly so, you know, like a bad connotation for a lot of people. Like, there's some really like solid, like you guys have a lot of breakdowns, you know?
Yeah.
Like, were people digging that, or were some people like, what the F is this? Or, you know, like.
I think overall everyone was into it just because, you know, it was just kind of like a new idea that we were doing. Of course, I mean, there was people that didn't like it for sure. But, I mean, everyone was cool and respectful, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I mean, we played some pretty good shows, you know, and I think people latched onto it. I think the big thing with us is that we were just angry kids, and there was just a lot of angry kids, and we all needed that something just to go to a show and just release to some Odious, you know, along with some other angry bands that play with us. So I think that's where it really went well. We got compared to hardcore a lot too, because we do like the chop riffs and I'd be screaming. So I took that as a compliment, because I do love me some hardcore.
Same, man, of course. And, you know, many great hardcore bands out of Cleveland. You know, with the breakdowns though, like the one thing I think that really, you know, like Steve, like he doesn't do like a typical like hardcore drum beat. Like it's I on a lot of that stuff, like it's like he just keeps going. Like I don't know how to say this. It works. It doesn't sound like you can. It's like it's obvious that there's a shift.
Yes.
But like he
just keeps going.
Busy.
Yeah.
You know, like
I think it's with that jazz class he took. He's got a lot of jazz influence in
okay.
And that's why his hands are super, super busy, you know. One thing with Odious, we just wrote for the pit. We just, you know, as we're wrapping up here, the most important thing for me is like with any of the bands, any of you guys or whoever's playing, I always feel just write for yourself. Like when we did this Odious, we wrote it for ourselves. We just, you know, our goal is to have a beer and listen to it at the end and be like, we wrote this because we like to hear this, you know. And in metal, for me, I just like to write for the pit. So.
Yeah, man. If you're getting people to move, that can be a hard thing. You know, like
especially not.
You know, like Especially like maybe if they don't drink or they don't whatever, or they're just sort of like, you know, they're, you know, and they're this kind of, you know, you're just like, you know, to really grab somebody and make them want to move around. I mean, that's, yeah, dude, that's power, man.
Yeah. Even in this day, if I just see heads bobbing, I'm happy, man. Good. That means everyone's enjoying themselves and feeling the groove. That's what's important.
We'll definitely have to do this again, man.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to like, how should I do these camera views and stuff? So I've been moving back and forth a lot. You'll see that in the video. Yeah, this will be on YouTube, Spotify, wherever we can distribute it. Thank you so much for being here, Scott Bryant.
No problem.
You're a legend in the scene here, man.
Appreciate that.
And looking forward to hearing much more music from you. I'm gonna put the camera right back to you. And if you got any last words you want to say for the moment?
Sure, man. In these troubled times, just do your best to be happy and just keep listening to metal, man. Just stay happy and just work with your art. And if you're not a musician, just keep listening to music and do what you love to do. That's my message for everybody. Looking forward to putting the Odious out for y'all, for sure.